Ladies, a very, very popular subject is fat loss in females, but more specifically, it's stubborn body fat. Now, before we get started, I want to talk about the subject of stubborn body fat. Now, in my opinion, stubborn body fat is not necessarily an area that doesn't budge, because everyone says it's stubborn, it doesn't move. Now, having worked over the last 15 years with women from housewives to just day-to-day business women, right through to females that want to compete or do photo shoots at a very, very high level, and professional athletes. When we look across that spectrum of clientele, the ones that have stubborn body fat are generally moving towards the business women, right through to, say, the housewives or postnatal clients, or even the younger generation has become very prevalent nowadays with, excess body fat or any levels of obesity. Now, when we step up to women that compete or women that do photo shoots, very rarely do we get the issue of stubborn body fat when someone is lean enough and given themselves enough time to get in shape. Now, some areas, especially the hips and the hamstrings, take longer and need certain strategies put in place to ensure they can keep mobilizing body fat in those particular areas. But very, very rarely at all, would I ever say that somebody has stubborn body fat. So the first thing that I want to quash is you don't have stubborn body fat. We have patterns across our body whereby body fat mobilizes at different rates. Now, can you do certain things to ensure that fat moves a little more equally across the body? Yeah, there are certain things that you can do. Are there certain things that women do that don't complement the stubborn body fat areas? There's a lot. So let's look at this. If you're quite happy to lose 4 or 5 pounds, and that 4 or 5 pounds in your first weight loss or fat loss attempt comes off a bit of your stomach, but you're still not happy with your arms and you're not happy with your bum. So you've lost a bit of weight from here. The problem is the next step in fat loss, because of where fat stores, is pushing on to allow the body fat to drop off the arms, which will require another 3 or 4 pounds. So that's taking you from 5 pounds to 9 pounds. So that's to shift a little bit more off those areas. Then you stop and you say, well, my arms have come down quite a lot, but my legs are still stubborn. Well, it may need another 7, 10, or even 12 pounds to actually see a lot more body fat come off the lower body, whilst the stomach's leaner and the arms are in better shape. So you can see what I'm trying to say here is, you might say I've lost 4 or 5 pounds off my stomach, but my legs and my arms are stubborn. They're not stubborn. You require to lose more weight, specifically body fat, to enable those areas to shift. Now, the problem that you have with most people is once they've lost 4 or 5 pounds, or even 7 or 8 pounds before they go on holiday, they've lost weight off the scales, but they've never measured actual body fat. So if, for example, a woman's going on holiday and she loses 6 pounds before she goes, and she looks in the mirror and she sees her face very, very gaunt, and she sees her clavicle prominent, but she thinks, well, I can't lose any more weight, I'm going to start to look skinny. The problem that you have there is you've not actually lost body fat. All you've done 9 times out of 10 is drop calories that much in a very short space of time, and added in loads of exercise, you've dropped a lot of muscle tissue. So this then becomes a problem, because any more weight that you try and lose by low calorie dieting and doing things the wrong way is only going to lose muscle tissue, which, if you know how many muscles are in your face, you'll realize how quick it is to be able to lose muscle off your face. So this becomes a big problem. So when it comes to actually losing body fat the right way, you need to have an optimal starting point. You need to have optimal protein intake. And I talk a lot about what's optimal in a lot of my YouTube videos and articles on M10 Life. It'd take me a long time to explain the best dietary protocol for you to be following, but it certainly means enough protein, at least 3 or 4 times a day. Certainly means if you're going to exercise, you need carbohydrates, and you certainly need essential good quality fats from fish, from good wild meats, nuts and seeds. Now, the big problem with this whole stubborn body fat area is that most people start off on low calorie and you have no way then of moving anywhere. So your fat loss attempts need to start 20 weeks, 22 weeks prior to doing anything. Giving yourself 3 or 4 weeks to get in shape before your holiday and crash weight loss is not the solution. So if you'd taken 22 weeks and you'd slowly introduced a bit of training, you'd slowly dropped your calories a little bit more, you created some fluctuation in your calories, which I'll talk about in a second, and then you allowed your body to adapt over time, then you would find yourself losing body fat. So you must have your body fat assessed. You must go to somebody and say, right, I'm going to jump on the scales, I've lost 6 pounds. How much of that is actual body fat? If you don't know, then again, you're more than likely losing muscle tissue, and if you're losing muscle tissue, the chances are fat isn't disappearing at all. So that's very, very important. In terms of shifting and mobilizing body fat, you need to also make sure that you're strength training, because cardiovascular training in itself, once your body is depleted of carbohydrates, is going to be trying to search for protein in terms of your muscle tissue, and that'll be dropping at a very, very fast rate. So you've got to preference 80% of your training from weight training alone. That's very, very important. Now, yes, we store body fat in certain areas. So the last thing that I want to add on here is, once your metabolism comes very, very flat and you can't shift body fat from certain areas, or you notice your weight isn't coming down, you need to make sure you have fluctuations in your calories throughout the week, to make sure that you have some days where you're having an increase in energy and some days where it's dropping a little bit more. So if you're having 2,500 calories or 2,000 calories a day, make sure the days when you train is 2,500 calories, and then maybe 1,800 to 1,700 on the days that you don't train. I've noticed over the years that in order to shift your body fat, you need to keep regularly stimulating metabolism, and following the same amount of food every single day is a recipe for your body to flatline and not shift any more body fat. So have days when you train slightly higher and days when you don't train slightly lower, and it allows that fluctuation, which stimulates your metabolism a lot more, and fat will shift a lot better. So guys, remember this, please. You do not have stubborn body fat. You haven't worked long enough and been consistent long enough to see fat loss come off. You haven't had your fat assessed, and 9 times out of 10 you're doing the wrong training modality, i.e. not enough weight training to see muscle tissue grow, so fat loss comes off. Try those and work hard, and stubborn body fat in your eyes will be a thing of the past.